Hello and welcome back to the series on LDA topic modeling and text classification, all for anyone who's generally interested, but specifically for the digital humanities. In this video, we're going to start talking about the key library that we're going to be using for part 3 of this series, which is Gensim. Gensim is a powerful library for doing a bunch of different things when it comes to text analysis. It was specifically designed for topic modeling for humans, as the subtop or subname says right there on its own website. It's really good for doing a bunch of other things. We've seen in past series on this channel how we used it for creating word embeddings or word vectors. It's also very, very good at looking at texts and extracting large clusters from them in a more robust way than what we saw with TF-IDF. It does it through what we saw in the last video, LDA topic modeling. And because of this really robust library, you're able to do very complex tasks with minimal amounts of code. The most difficult thing about Gensim is getting the data prepared correctly. And so in the next video, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about preparing the data and what the Gensim LDA model expects. The actual implementation of LDA in Python will be very, very minimal in coding. It'll be more about the pre-processing of the data and more about the post-analysis of that data. In this video series, or at least in this video on Gensim, I'm going to be moving away from Atom, as you've seen me do in all my videos up until this point, and I'm instead going to be using something that is a little different. It's JupyterLab, or Jupyter Notebooks. The reason for this comes down to one thing. It comes down to my ability to convey to you inline really nice visualizations such as this from PyLDA Viz. And the reason why I'm using JupyterLab for this section of this series is purely because of this ability to visualize the data in line instead of having to open up a browser every time I want to display a visualization. Like all my other series, or like my last series on NER, this series is going to contain a Jupyter book that'll be self-contained, introduction to everything when it comes to topic modeling and text classification, from key concepts to TF-IDF, and what you're going to see down here is the LDA, which is going to be part 3 shortly after this video goes live in late February. So what do you need for this series? Well, you need to install Gensim. I recommend going down to Gensim and exploring it for a little bit after you watch this video, and when you're ready, go ahead and use your terminal as you've done for every other library in Python and just do pip install. So for me on a Windows, I would type in pip install Gensim, run it, and I would install the latest version of Gensim, which I believe is at 4.0.0. The other thing that you're going to want to install for this series, if you're interested in using these notebooks, which will be available on GitHub shortly, I would recommend also installing JupyterLab. JupyterLab is what I use to edit, prepare, and run Jupyter Notebooks. There's a few different ways to run Jupyter Notebooks on a PC. I happen to find JupyterLab to be very effective. One of the things I will note is that as soon as you run the code in this script to visualize the data, I don't know why this bug exists. Someone can please let me know in the comments down below. But as soon as you run it, you lose this information up here, which you'll see if I were to close this tab and close that tab, you'll see it reappear. For whatever reason, the visualizations cause these bits of drop-down menu items to go away. Not really entirely sure why. Probably something that's happening on the HTML on the back end. Doesn't matter. The notebook still runs great and everything works fine. So that's what we're going to be using for this, is JupyterLab. And the way in which you install JupyterLab is you pip install, if you're using pip install JupyterLab. I'm going to provide a link here that goes through all the different potential ways to install JupyterLab, depending on environment and depending on everything else. So go ahead and look at these 2 key things that we're going to be working with for the next video in this series, which is going to be Gensim and JupyterLab. And I'm hoping to have this book wrapped up, this entire Jupyter book on text classification and topic modeling, by early March of 2021, or at least an early draft of it. Again, keep an eye out. Keep on looking at it. It's topic-modeling.pythonhumanities.com. This is not ready to be distributed yet, so please do not take it as the final product. Citations still need to be going into it, and other things, but this is a working prototype of what the end goal is. So I know this video didn't cover any of the code. It was mainly geared at just kind of the key libraries that we're going to be using so that when you encounter them in the next video, you're not going to be surprised. And like I do for all my videos, it will be live coding. So even though I'm using a Jupyter notebook, you are not going to see me just go through cell by cell and explain the code. I'll be typing it out with you. And I haven't decided yet, but I might be making this video several videos long, one on text processing and cleaning, and another on the LDA implementation and things like that. But I know this looks like a lot of code, and it is, but I promise you, if you stick with me through the series, you'll not only understand the code, you'll understand how to implement it on your own data set, your own corpora of texts. That's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed it, join me in the next video while we start implementing LDA topic modeling in Python.